trolling fly. Okay, here he comes. I'm gonna drag him. I got him! I got him! Oh my God! Look at that stud! Look at that stud of a rainbow! Oh my God! Look at that fish! What a beautiful fish! Oh my God! Oh, wow! Look at that! Oh, I'm stoked. That's the biggest wild rainbow I've caught in a long time. That's a beautiful.
Howdy folks, Cal Kellogg here. That big fish you saw me catch in the opening, and you've seen me catch that fish before if you're a fan of the channel here, caught that fish on a trolling fly at Lake Elmanor last October. That's my personal best rainbow. That fish was just a whisker over 7 pounds, and I'm looking to go even bigger this fall. And I'm likely, if I catch a bigger rainbow than that, it's likely going to be on a trolling fly, because there is no better time of the year for trolling flies than in the fall and early winter when the fish are looking to put on the feed bag. Flies, they just check several boxes for big predators. One, it's an offering that is extremely lifelike. Two, it's an offering that trout don't see real often. You know, they see rapalas all the time. They see spoons all the time, but they don't see trolling flies that often. And when you're looking for a big experienced fish, it just helps if you're giving them something that they don't see on a daily or weekly basis, and that's what you get out of trolling flies. That being the case, I spent the last several months trying to put together a deadly selection of trolling flies that I have a ton of confidence in, and I've finally kind of completed the search, and I'm ready to offer this signature series of trolling flies here on the channel. These are the flies that I've put together. Here's what you get. Let's take a look at these flies. They come in a compartment box just like this. With this selection, you get 10 flies, 3 wiggle discs, basically everything you need to get out on the water and get after big fall trout with trolling flies. Let's take a look at the flies, and I'm going to mix in some underwater footage of these flies as I talk about them and as I introduce them to you. I don't even have names for these, so I'm just going to make up some names as we go. I was more interested in the action and what they represent rather than naming them. This is a large olive minnow imitation. I guess it's my Magnum minnow. It's got a wool head, a rabbit hair body, a marabou tail, and it's got a lot of crystal flash integrated into it. An extremely lifelike action when trolled behind a wiggle disc, and it has a big profile. It just sings big meal to big trout. I love the color, I love the shape, I love the action. That's going to produce some big fish. If you want to go even bigger than that, I've got this fly. This is an all rabbit hair minnow imitation tied on a number 2 extra sharp hook, very stout. You would think you'd get very fluid action with the rabbit hair, but that's not why I picked this fly out. When I ran this fly with a wiggle disc, I got a very crippled, very just a vibrating action. It looks like every fiber of that fly is alive and moving when trolled at about 1.5 miles an hour. If you're at a place that has big trout, double-digit browns, 5+ pound rainbows, this is a great choice. It's got that, dark over light coloration that really, draws predators in. That's what they expect to see. Minnows, they're dark over light. So when they see that prominent eye, they see all that shivering action. That's a winner right there. So along those same lines, I have this Marabou Crawfish imitation. And this is something you'd want to run at a lake where there are sculpins, where there's crawfish, stuff like that. It's got marabou, you can see it moving in the breeze. It's got some feathers and crystal flash inside to give it some body. It's got some wool and rabbit hair on the head, just to give it a unique head shape on the near the eye of the hook there. When this gets wet, it kind of sucks down. This is a very deadly pattern when run near weeds, run along the bottom, run at places like French Meadows where the fish feed on crawfish, run at places like Eagle Lake where the fish feed on a lot of tui chubs, Davis Lake where the fish feed on a lot of sculpins. That is going to be a deadly fly, and it's a large fly, so when you put this on, you're looking for big fish. And we don't want to overlook the foothill lakes, places like Maloney's, Shasta, Folsom, Don Pedro, where the fish feed on clouds of bait fish. I've got 4 imitations of bait fish for those lakes. Number 1, this is the Cornerstone Baitfish imitation. This is for when the fish are feeding on shad or pond smelt. light blue over white with plenty of flash, a big prominent eye. This is 100% synthetic material fly. It has a ton of translucence. It's very durable. When you put this behind the wiggle disc, it's very lifelike. If you've got browns, rainbows, kings, feeding on pond smelt, feeding on shad, show them this fly and you're going to be yelling fish on. Now if you want some color in your spread, I've got 3 Marabou-based shad imitations here, and I'm going to start off with the biggest one first. I'm very excited about this fly. This is my large Marabou Shad. It's yellow and white. It has some feathers integrated in there for body. It has just the right amount of flash. It has a big prominent eye. Now that thing looks kind of crazy right there. It looks like it's having a bad hair day. But when this guy gets wet, it takes on a very effective baitfish, shaped silhouette. There's one that's been run a couple times. You can see it's already kind of taken on that shad shape. When it's wet, working behind that wiggle disc, it is very shaddy looking, tons of movement, tons of flash, very effective presentation for large rainbows. Now, when I'm out for rainbows, if I'm looking to have fun and catch a bunch of rainbows, like I'm going to Shasta here soon, and I'm going to be looking to imitate shad. I'm going to be running this pink and white Marabou Shad. It's got some crystal flash in it, but it's mostly Marabou, has a big prominent eye. It sucks down into a very compact shad shape, but it still has that pink color on it. Just a dandy shad imitation, especially for rainbows. They love pink. I know there's a lot of guys out there that they like Chartreuse, so this is the same exact fly, but with Chartreuse instead of pink. It's a small shad imitation. It's got the crystal flash in it, but it's got the Chartreuse and the white coloration, so that's a winner. If the situation calls for a more finesse approach, I've got a traditional feather streamer. I chose an orange one because you know me, high Sierras, I like orange stuff. French Meadows, places like that. That's a tandem hook design. It's got 2 hooks. It's got some silver tinsel, a lot of orange. That's just going to be a highly effective presentation at places that require something a little more subtle than those big giant Marabou flies I just showed you. So it's my traditional streamer, feather streamer in the orange color. Let's wrap it up with the black flies. You know me, I've talked a lot about black lures over the years here on the channel. They're highly effective early and late in the day, when it's overcast, anytime you got a low light situation. Well, no set of flies would be complete without a big black woolly booger. This is my number 2 beadhead woolly booger. It's got some crystal flash in it. It's got some flashaboo in there. It's just a highly effective fly. Run it with the wiggle disc. You can even cast this with a water bobber and stuff like that. Woolly boogers, black ones. They need no introduction to trout anglers. They just flat out fish. Let's wrap it up. Here's fly number 10. This is a black sculpin imitation, but I didn't get it to imitate sculpins. It's kind of a black leech. It's just very impressionistic. It's made out of rabbit hair and wool. This is something that you want to run early and late in the day. Run it slow. If you have an overcast day, especially if there's a little chop, run it right below the chop. This is a killer on browns, big rainbows. It has that lifelike, impressionistic quality. It's almost like a super magnum woolly booger. It doesn't imitate anything exactly, but it looks like something to eat. They can zero in on that dark silhouette and wham, it's fish on. I know this is going to produce some big browns for me up in the high Sierras, places like that. Probably Lake Elmonor as well. I just love that dark color. And look at that lifelike action on that hair right there. So anyhow, those are the 10 flies. Let's talk a little bit about rigging these flies. Here's one of my finesse minnows, actually rigged up on a line, rigged up on a spinning rod. See the fly right here, but you notice, see the wiggle disc right there? The wiggle disc isn't right on the nose of the fly. With this small fly, you don't want to run the disc right on the fly's nose. So what I have there, I have a little black bobber stop between the fly and the wiggle disc, and I suggest that you rig all your flies this way. Get some of these little black bobber stops at the tackle shop and rig them between your wiggle disc and the fly. That allows you to create space. Now most of the time I'm trolling my flies anywhere from 1.5 to 2 miles an hour. But if you want to go quicker, create some space between the wiggle disc and the fly. Take the speed all the way up to, you know, upwards of 3 miles an hour if the situation calls for that. But that bobber stop allows you to dial in the action of the fly to the speed that you want to troll the fly. And on your, you know, your subtler flies, your smaller flies like that, you want that separation even if you're going slow. So use that bobber stop to run the fly aside of the boat to dial in the kind of action you want on any given day, on any, you know, any given situation, and you're going to be yelling fish on. That's my set of flies. They are available in the store. I have a pretty solid supply of them. They go out the door for 30 bucks. For 30 bucks, you get the compartment box, the 10 flies I discussed, handpicked by me, 3 wiggle discs, add a little fluorocarbon leader and some bobber stops, and you are ready to get out on the lake and rock and roll, whether you're fishing the high Sierras, a trophy trout lake, a put and take lake, fishing the foothills. You got a fly for every situation, and you just got to get out in the water and put them to use, and these are going to produce some very nice trout for you. I'm going to be out there fishing them real soon. My first stop is Shasta. Next stop is Elminor. I'm going to mix Davis and stuff in there like that. You're going to be seeing me catch some very large trout on these flies. I can't wait to run that olive minnow with that big yellow eye. That thing just, it looks dynamite. I've run it, I've fished it, I've caught a few fish on it, but I know when the time comes, I'm going to go big on that fly. But anyway, jump on over to the store. I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. I try to bring you the best content I can, the best tips I can give you, and these days I've been trying to offer you guys up the best tackle at the best price point that I can provide. I'm only throwing out stuff to you guys that I know fishes, stuff that I know will help you when you're out on the water, because that fishing time's valuable, and you know, you don't want to break the bank. You want proven gear that you know is going to perform, and that's what I'm trying to offer you guys. Jump on over to the store. These kits are 30 bucks out the door. We'll get one sent to you real quick if you're into trolling flies or you want to try it out. I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. I will catch you next time right here on YouTube. I got a lot of chores to do today, so I'm going to jump, but I will catch you guys later. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. This is Kel Kellogg.